We're not getting the stamps. And I gotta take care of my grandson. So it's hard.
What do you want people in Washington, D.C. to know about the shutdown and the fact that this...
Hurry up and get the job done and worry about the people, not about themselves.
Worry about the people. 3 lines of cars snaked around St. Mary's Food Bank in West Phoenix this past week ahead of the expected weekend cutoff of food stamp benefits for 900,000 Arizonans. These free food boxes might be the only source of nutrition in coming days and weeks for countless low-income families. And looming over the last-minute rush for free food boxes is a lawsuit joined by Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays and 24 other Democratic AGs. The AGs asked a federal judge in Massachusetts to compel the Trump administration to provide emergency funding for the SNAP program that will be withheld as of November 1st because of the government shutdown. Here are 3 things to know about Arizona recipients of SNAP benefits, commonly known as food stamps. More than 923,000 residents, 1 in every 8 people in Arizona, receive SNAP benefits. More than 68% are in families with children. More than 40% are in working families. Joining us now to discuss the response to the imminent funding cutoff is Terri Shoemaker. She is Executive Vice President of the Arizona Association of Food Banks. Welcome to Sunday Square Off.
Thanks, Ben.
Let's talk about the potential ruling that could come down at any minute while we sit here from the judge in Massachusetts. Say the judge ordered potentially the Trump administration to inject or release $2 billion to the states for benefits. Could that get to the states? Could they take care of the SNAP recipients by this weekend?
Probably not. And that's because SNAP is a really big machine with thousands and thousands, millions, 43 million Americans who benefit from SNAP and hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. So moving any part of that machine is going to take a minute.
Going to take a minute, so there will be a lag if it happens.
Right. There will absolutely be a delay for people who are expecting SNAP benefits this weekend.
I should point out that the judge appears to be inclined to do something. She said in court, Congress has put money in an emergency fund. It is hard for me to understand how this is not an emergency. And this would be the first cutoff of food stamps ever?
Ever. In its modern history, so 60 plus years, there has never been a moment like this where SNAP benefits didn't go out.
Well, my goodness. Well, tell us about the Food Bank Network and the work going on right now behind the scenes to prepare for the weekend.
All of the food banks across the state are collaborating, working together to find solutions and to do everything that they can to stand up as many resources as possible to fill the gap between the 1 meal that they're used to giving people compared to the 5 that people get from SNAP. So that's a massive gap to be filled in both the amount of food and probably the amount of people. Although we do know that SNAP recipients, it's supplemental nutrition assistance program. So it's intended to give you 70 to 80% of your food supply for the month. So many of those people probably come to food banks as well. But we know that there are people who will be visiting food banks for the first time ever.
And I should correct the name of your organization. It's the Arizona Food Bank Network. My apologies for that. How much food is being amassed right now to prepare for whatever, when the wave hits?
Millions and millions of pounds. So think semi-tractor trailer truckloads everywhere.
And what has it compared to a regular week?
So far, food banks have been serving more than about 780,000 Arizonans a month. So the number of people who are seeking that help is really high already. So we know that that's a 10 to 20% increase across the board for all food banks across the state compared to a year ago. So going into this SNAP crisis, we've already seen a heavy, heavy volume of people needing help. And so that's just going to get worse.
Now, many of us in Arizona have been getting a crash course over the last week or so about how the food safety net works here. What don't we understand, or what would you like to underline for us to better understand?
Thank you for this question. I think the thing we're trying to emphasize is that the Food Bank Network was always meant to be emergency food. So it's an emergency food box. It's not for a replacement for benefits. It's really for people who don't qualify or had a gap in coverage or had an extreme family circumstance, and it's taking them time to figure out what they're going to do next. So this is an emergency network that's used to things like disaster relief, but this disaster, kind of like COVID, is hitting everybody all at the same time.
And just getting back to what you said about the recent surge in demand, is this becoming a way of life for some folks?
I think it always has been. Yeah. You know, the SNAP count has always been fairly high. It did dip during the height of COVID because there were a lot of federal supports out there for people who were struggling because of all the disruptions to work and commuting and seeing people face to face. But here we're just not seeing the amount of societal supports for people, and we're seeing more than the number of people at the height of COVID.
Have you had to struggle to find the food?
Supply and demand in food banks is always a thing. So yes, food banks are trying to find even more supplies, but thankfully so far, you know, I was at St. Mary's yesterday and spoke with their community programs officer, and he said we have food and we want to do more, and so we're working with the food banks to see what they need and try and get that to them. Thankfully, we've gotten resources from the public and from the governor to help bolster everything that we're doing, and we hope that it'll be enough to at least lessen the impact.
Speaking of the governor, Governor Hobbs last week announced $1.5 million for the food banks. SNAP provides $5 million a day.
Right.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
That's kind of a drop in the bucket, isn't it?
We are thankful for any and all help, and if the governor hadn't found $1.5 million, we would have been looking for it somewhere else. But SNAP dollars are $150 million a month, so that's what we're up against.
And have $5 million a day, $150 million a month. Food retailers are taking a hit here as well, aren't they?
They are. We're especially concerned about small retailers in rural areas because they probably rely on SNAP benefits for a piece of their retail income puzzle.
Now, people want to know in situations like this, how can they help? What do you suggest?
So give money. Food banks can leverage economies of scale and purchase the things that they need for the people that they're serving. So food drives are wonderful, but this is the one thing we're recommending right now that we haven't in the past is if you want to do a food drive, if you want to help someone with food donations, think about your friends, neighbors, colleagues, people who go to your church, and try and help people directly, because the more people we can prevent from needing a food bank, the better it will be for everybody.
So work in your circle, help out your circle, but also write a check.
Yeah.
If possible.
If possible.
If possible. All right. Terri Shoemaker, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for the work you do.
Thanks, Bear.